Hello, welcome to Bridges Live presents Mental Health Mondays. And while we're waiting for all the captions to get on and all the feed lives to get on to Mental Health Mondays, I would like to first introduce everyone to one of my daughters. Introduce yourself, Keeper.
Oh, I'm Kibra. Yeah. I mean, I'm the youngest.
You're the youngest of seven.
Yeah.
And that has to be somewhat of an importance because we're going to talk about mental health and families and things like that. So it's great that you're visiting here with me in the studio, and I think that's awesome. But as you can see, I'm trying to get all this stuff already uploaded, but it's taking a little bit of time, and I'm sorry about that. Um, when we talk about mental health, we so many of us get so confused on what is mental health for me, what is mental health that I can do. Um, you don't have to give your age or anything unless you want to, but what's mental health to you?
Okay. Okay. So, um, um, well, mental health is, I guess, to like put it as like a basis, it's like the mental. Well, it's like hard to explain, but like not really at all either. Mental health is the is the imbalance of chemicals in your brain. Well, that's like the medical reason of what mental health is.
So let's go besides what mental health is, what maybe a book may say, but what does it mean for you? I mean, in your age group, you have I have, as you know, and we all have, as many of us in our family have dealt with something with mental health. Tell people how your mental health gets affected because I think everyone struggles in your age group, my age group, in any age group. I'm really having a hard time with this lighting. So, what is it about mental health that you think you want to talk about that most young people don't ever talk about?
Um, Something that people don't talk about. Well, I think what people don't talk about in my age group is probably because everyone in my age group these days faces everyone thinks they have depression, but people don't really know what it is to have depression, and so they base it on like school and like too much homework. So I think what people my age don't understand is that depression isn't just, you know, having too much homework or, not having too much, I mean, too little sleep or, something like stupid like getting like an F and they're angry and so they're sad and they're like, oh my gosh, I got an F and I'm so depressed because I got this F, but you're just sad and angry. You're not depressed. So I think people my age overuse the word depression rather than just being like sad or angry or something like that.
I think that makes sense. I think how can someone learn the difference if no one teaches them the difference between sad and depression? Then they keep using those words, and those words have such strong powers. Because if you're depressed, there's a lot of chemical things going on.
Yeah. I mean, um, people who are depressed can't, because people will say a lot of the things that you hear is, it's a mindset, just, take a nap, think on it, or you can change it with like just like overcoming it, when in reality it's not something that, I mean, maybe you can do it, but it's not going to be in that moment. It's going to take maybe months, if that years, maybe even longer, to overcome it with the help of medical professionals and maybe medication, if that's what it takes. But I mean, it's not just, people saying, um, I once heard, you know, um, you can just overcome this right now if you just think better thoughts or something. And I was like, I can't overcome this in just an instant. It takes time. It takes a lot of energy and effort and money and just time.
One thing I know we talked about here on Mental Health Mondays and in any of my shows is that people need to learn how to ask for help.
Yeah.
We definitely can't do this alone, and no one's ever taught us how to go through this process of our emotional self. So we get so outcasted by things on specifically social media. Let me see if this affects you differently than anybody else in your age group. That everyone else is doing so well, then how come I'm not? Does that ever play a part of the um, social media standings type thing?
Yes. So me personally, I am not active on social media as much as I was before.
Mm-hmm.
And me personally, I feel so much happier. Like, I feel the difference that it has. Um, so the people, because I was really active, I was seeing what people were doing, and something that I wasn't there doing with them, or all I thought is, why wasn't I invited, or why don't you like me, or
Mm-hmm.
was I not good enough to be, like, what did I do wrong? And when in reality it was just me thinking that, and it was just them out and them posting a picture of them having fun, but I took it personally
Mm-hmm.
when they didn't mean it that way. So so taking that break from social media gave me to gave me the time to step back and realize, they weren't aiming it personally at me. Like, I'm having fun and you're not. So here's this to look at.
So it kind of goes back to the theme of it just takes time to understand. Is it understanding of how you are feeling or who you are? Or are they not the same? I actually don't think they're the same.
I don't think there's something.
I don't think they're the same. I feel they're not the same for me. Right? I don't see how someone can make them the same for them because knowing who you are and then understanding your feelings, they're completely different.
Yeah.
So so many people. I know it gets difficult when we look at, and I've used this as a block, expectations. Do we put expectations on ourselves, or does a social system that we in also has a stigma of expectations? Either way, it has nothing with you involved in it.
Yeah.
But we get that's the trap, isn't it?
So I think, that's what a lot of people are caught up in social media these days. Is, I mean, all in all, I personally believe that the world and everyone would be maybe 10 times
Hmm.
happier, and world peace may be possibly achievable if social media just wasn't a thing. Because as much as,
Well, how do we get our news? Oh my God!
well,
How do we get the news of Aunt Mary and Uncle David and Grandpa Joe?
talk to them or go see them, or you
Well,
know
they live in Singapore. I mean, these are this is the excuses of social media news, which is sad because I this is on social media.
Yeah.
So is this helpful or hurtful? Well, actually, sometimes I think this is hurtful because I think if you are having some emotional mental health issues, I hope you are getting the help you need, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this isn't, this show for me, it's not about giving you help, but maybe hearing people talk about it will give you enough familiarity of saying, I too can talk about it. I too can find someone that I didn't know I had those problems also.
Yeah.
So that is so you know is that a detriment to social media? Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah. I mean, social media is. I mean, it,
I-
it can it can help as much as it can hurt.
It's the access.
Yeah.
It's the excess or the access.
I think it is the both. I think
Mm.
it's the excess amount of information and the people who have access to put out that information.
There's no morality to putting out false information or putting out information knowing it's going to harm someone.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Because, um, yeah, there's an excess amount of.
Where'd you go? Oh,
Oh,
there you go.
yeah, there's an excess amount of information, but there are people who are doing it on purpose. So the people who have
Mm.
access to putting it on there is giving out this excess information that in reality is just we don't need.
Excuse me. Let's talk about family and the dynamics of mental health, meaning that could a person feel outcasted from their family if they feel like their health is not cared for?
What do you mean?
So, sisters, brothers, cats, and dogs, mom and dads, you're going through an emotional journey and you feel like no one notices it. Does that put that journey into what frame for you?
For me personally, it looks as if they don't care.
Mm.
Why aren't you noticing I'm different? I'm off my normal schedule. You should be noticing this. And I get people have other, I mean, different things in their life, but when you're in that time, you just want anyone to notice you acting different.
Because I agree with that. When we don't feel like we are being seen, along with the sadness, I think that can create depression. Because we could be sad about an F or by anything that we feel like we are not doing well at. And then not to be seen can trigger a chemical change. And that creates a depression, which is now something completely totally different.
Yeah.
Because so when families do notice, what are the words that you think have you heard helps you or could help? When someone says, "Hey, Kibra, you're off a schedule. What's going on?" Is that helpful enough?
Um, for me, again, personally, um, when I'm sad, I generally don't want a person to come up and ask me, what's wrong or
Mm-hmm.
why are you doing this? When they first come up to me, I know this is not a lot of people's first reaction when they notice someone sad, uh, is to just tell them, it's going to be okay. I just want someone to reassure me that I'm going to be fine, and that, this is all in my head, and, I noticed and I see you that you're sad, and, it's going to be okay.
I think those are the words. I see you.
Yeah.
What about it's going to be okay? What do you think about that term? Because without knowing exactly what you're going through, is it are you do, you know? And I don't, and I'm not a speculator, but it seems like we have to actually speculate. What do they mean by everything's going to be okay? They don't even know my situation. So, what is okay? That I just lost my best friend in a car accident, and that's going to be okay? They're going to be okay, or am I going to be okay? Or accidents are just okay in that part. My space may not be able to handle everything's going to be okay right now.
I think when I hear it's going to be okay, I think, the situation later on is going to be better than it is right now. So looking back on the situation, um, it'll, you know, say you lost your best friend, and, it's going to be okay. Well, they're not going to be okay, and I'm not okay right now, but later on in life, it's it's going to be okay, because, you've gone through that time and you've taken the time to process what happened. But, in the end, eventually, the situation
We'll
you're
be
in
okay.
will be okay.
But from the initial, can I just say I see you and I'm here for you? Isn't I want that to be enough until the person's ready to talk about what isn't okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because if I don't know the complete situation, I do want to say I've noticed you. I'm here for you, but to give my it's going to be okay, I think that's pushing it a little bit too far. At the initial moment.
Um, like I said, for me, I needed that, like, reassurance, that,
Mhm.
because in that moment, I'm overthinking and I'm going ahead and kind of
Mhm.
saying, everything's gonna be all wrong, and I'm not gonna get better, and I'm always gonna be like this. And so when someone says, it's gonna be okay, they're giving me that reassurance that this is not gonna last forever. So that's where I come from.
I think Mental Health Mondays is we fall into many of the season of Thanksgiving and Christmas and Hanukkah and Rosh Hashanah. I mean, there's just there's many of the holiday festivities coming up, and many people are going to be without family for all kinds of reasons, for so many reasons, again and again, and it happens. I don't know if there's a better way to say you just miss someone, or to pick up the phone that you haven't talked to in a while and say, I'm missing you, or I'm missing us, or I'm missing. And it's okay to miss things. I think so many people have a hard time missing something because it hurts so bad. Do you have that problem yourself? Missing something and feeling that emotion of missing something?
Yes. I mean, I do it with people. I mean, I do it with mainly people. I don't want to think about what happened in that, like, to that person, or what happened to our relationship,
Hmm.
because then I think back and I'll say, well, if I did this differently, well, then maybe I could have preserved that relationship in that time. And then, you know, and I just,
It's just what?
and then I just get sad all over again. like I relived that entire situation. So I just don't think about it.
I want people to be able to think about it, feel it, understand it, and then be able to go through it. I think if we don't think about things, then we miss the connection of understanding it. And if we miss the connection of understanding it, then it will be very difficult for us to go through it. But we must choose to bring those feelings on, bring that feeling up, and let it soak inside of us. But this lighting's horrible.
I know.
It's a horrible lighting day. We'll have to work on that on the next show.
Probably.
But we're going to make this short and sweet on Mental Health Mondays because this lighting's horrible.
And I'm just ahead.
Yeah. Until we fix this lighting, we'll do other podcasts already for iHeart and iTunes and Apple Podcasts, so that you don't have to worry about the visual. But 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 I do hope the message of taking your time to go through something, understanding who you are, and being there for someone to say, "Hey, I'm there for you. I've noticed something." I think once we see people, less people want to commit suicide. It's those who don't feel like they're being seen are harming themselves. Anything you want to say?
I think that's spot on.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing this moment.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.